the main reason none of these work and no one really cared about them was you're doing a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man.
You're listening to Second Cut. This is the podcast where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, history, etc. Because what else are we going to do with our time? I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
And I'm Sam. I don't know. Some guys will take their sons to Africa and get their eldest turned into a lion man rather than go to therapy.
Sure. Is it possible to hire a Russian person to play a Russian character?
Never. Not in a Hollywood movie.
No.
Even when you get people from like the right kind of approximate part of the world, they tend to be more often like Scandinavians, just do Russian accents. Think of Dolph Lundgren and people like that.
Yeah. So as we record this episode, Spider-Man has been out for nearly a week. It's made like over $1 billion or whatever. If it hasn't, it soon will.
Yeah.
Instead of retreading that ground, we're watching Sony's Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, it made over 900 million in less than 3 days. So yeah, it was. Broken a lot of records. So yeah, and that's kind of a success that Sony would have probably wanted, a few years ago when they were doing their superhero movies, but no such luck.
Yeah, it's a good thing they have Spider-Man to lend out, but I mean, really, that's a loss for Marvel overall. Sam, would you like me to take you back to 1985?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, well, back then, Marvel optioned Spider-Man's film rights to Canon Films for $250,000. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, Marvel were in like dire straits, like 80s into the 90s, hence why they sold off all the characters piecemeal to so many different kind of companies.
Yeah, and for Spider-Man specifically, I think it was just the film rights. So, I don't know what they did with other characters, but like Spider-Man, in our lifetime, Sam, has probably been the biggest Marvel superhero in culture generally.
Yeah.
I don't know how popular he was before the 90s, but obviously huge in the years since.
Yeah, I mean, he had like animated shows and a live action show, didn't he, back in the 70s, so I think people were aware. He was one of the more recognisable of the Marvel kind of roster of heroes. So a lot of people say, if it wasn't for Avengers, next to no one would know who Iron Man was, But yeah, I suppose out of the Marvel lineup, it was probably Spider-Man and then Hulk. I would imagine probably their most kind of recognisable kind of characters, pre-MCU. Whereas DC, you always have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman were always popular, So it's I think that they're less well known outside of kind of comic book fan circles, really.
Yeah, and over the years, through the 80s and 90s, the film rights passed through 21st Century Film Corporation, Carolco, MGM, Viacom, and Sony's home video interests. In 1996, Marvel Entertainment Group filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and Sony and MGM throughout in 1998 to 99 were fighting basically over the rights. Yeah. And Sony and Columbia secured the feature film license, sequels, and associated rights in March 1999. So that is how we ended up where we are, kind of.
Yeah. And now we've had over almost getting on for 20 years of Marvel trying to get all their characters back so they can use them in their big blockbuster films and team up movies. And the Spider-Man kind of joint custody arrangements, one of the more complicated kind of agreements between studios over the last decade, because essentially it comes down to Disney Marvel can use Spider-Man in Avengers movies, but whenever it's a solo Spider-Man movie, Sony does that and basically keeps the profits from that. So they get the massive box office returns, whereas Disney Marvel gets to think, but now Spider-Man's done well, we can tell everyone he's in our next Avengers movie, and hopefully some of that will rub off on our project as well.
Yeah, and that was decided in 2015, by the way. Yeah. The terms that I found were Sony were in control of like financing, distributing, and owning its own Spider-Man films. Yeah. It had final creative control. Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios took over creative production. Yeah. And I guess that's just for the MCU stuff. Mm-hmm. Amy Pascal was representing Sony as a producer with Marvel. Marvel could use him in MCU films, but Sony received MCU characters and continuity for its own solo Spider-Man movies. Yes. And
because basically you didn't have any associated Spider-Man associated villains or side characters turning up in the MCU aside from like his family. They could use his family, but any major villains or antagonists, they were Sony's property. I mean, it got even more complicated with the mutants, pre-Fox being sold to Disney. Fox had X-Men, and basically the deal was they could use Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in Avengers movies again because they were both Avengers and X-Men characters, but they couldn't say they're mutants or use any other mutant characters because they were all going to be used in like the X-Men universe. So. Yeah, there's just so many like little deals kind of saying, give and take. Okay, you do this, and then we'll do this, and if we can have that, we'll give you this, and it's just so kind of like kind of tangled together and difficult to track, and just kind of so confusing for everyone. Not in the know about kind of how these kind of entertainment industries kind of work.
Yeah, and in the intervening time between that MCU deal and 1999, obviously Sony released the Raimi trilogy from 2002 to 2007, and they did want to make Spider-Man 4, but he withdrew in January 2010. And so then we have the Amazing Spider-Man era beginning in 2012 with Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. And I mean, I barely remember those, but the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was starting to try and like spin off and build its own kind of universe because it has so many different villains in that movie.
Basically, this is back in the era where everyone wanted obviously a cinematic universe because the MCU was doing so well. And Sony thought, well, if we're not going to have kind of a Spider-Man big team-up movie under our control, let's do the same thing, but with his villains. So at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, they teased all the villains that were coming. Kind of MacGuffin Man walks into a vault and sees all these kind of gadgets, linked to the villains. You see Doc Ock's tentacles and I can't remember what else there was now, but yeah, lots of different things associated with these villains. And then that was the theory behind this whole Spider-Man spin-off antagonist, villains, anti-heroes kind of universe, because they're all going to team up and do a version of Sinister Six eventually. Do a big
that's what I was going to ask. Were they going for Sinister Six?
That's what they're going for, yeah. But it's really weird that they went for that because, like, Sinister Six, they're meant to be like his biggest villains. So kind of Venom's obviously like a famous one, but generally speaking, you're talking about Green Goblin and Doc Ock and a few others. But because they'd already been used in previous films, they weren't going to be including those in like this plan Sinister Six. So it's like Z-list kind of villains like Morbius and Vulture and Kraven, I mean, they're slightly more prominent, but not much really. Not like the big hitters.
Sam, that brings us to where we are and what our conversation is mostly going to be about. Yeah. The spin-off universe from 2018 to 2024. It did last longer than the Dark universe or whatever.
Yeah, that's more than one movie.
But Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, they were both pretty big hits. They made money.
People like Venom. You know, he's a very merchandisable character and very big on the kind of guys who are into the dark and gritty. Everything's got to have a frowny face on it kind of sex.
Yeah, in his own right, like Venom is an interesting character without Spider-Man. Morbius was obviously terrible and just hilarious. Yeah. And like even back then we knew about Jared Leto being a, terrible, weird person. And now we've learned more about that in the last couple of weeks.
I'll be honest, if I hadn't watched the 90s Spider-Man cartoon growing up, I would have no idea who Morbius was. Because I just remember he had quite a couple of memorable appearances in that. But
I still barely know.
Yeah. And you say that, I mean, we'll comment it properly, but Venom kind of works as a character in his own right to an extent. He is more interesting in relation to Spider-Man, though, because he's meant to be like a dark reflection of Spider-Man. I mean, that's how Venom comes about. It's like the symbiote alien goo bonds onto a suit and turns into the dark side for a while, and eventually remembers who he is and splits off from it, and then has to fight his kind of dark alter ego. And that was the whole point of that. And just having Venom just be goo monster takes over Guy and does basically kind of anti-hero-y kind of things. I think it's a lot less interesting, but yeah. But it made money, as you say, so hence why we got a few more of these.
But yeah, Morbius was terrible and a failure financially. Yeah. And sticking just with these SSU movies, obviously Across the Spider-Verse came out and made a lot of money, but with these, because they were the attempt at a universe, Morbius, failure, Madam Web, failure, Venom: The Last Dance. I mean, it made a little bit of money, but it wasn't very popular. I forgot it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like either of the first two Venom films. I mean, my main, obviously that they're better received than the others, but kind of grading on the curve. It's like anything's better than the others. But my main memory of the first film is the finale, which is basically two black CG monsters fighting in the dark. It's just
true.
That's all that's left of it. And the second film was just that. Oh yeah, now he's fighting a red one, played by Woody Harrelson for some reason. But at least the third one, I'll give it the third one is my favourite Venom film by quite some distance, because it seems to kind of embrace the joke of it. Tom Hardy does have fun with it. It's a bit camp, it's a bit over the top and kind of self-referential, and at least he gets to fight some cool looking aliens this time. But still not a great film, but better than the other two. On balance, probably best of the series.
They were for Cinema Score B+, B+, B- for the three of those, and Morbius and Madam Web were both C+. Kraven the Hunter, which came out in 24, and we'll talk more about, is also a C. Yeah. So, I mean, nobody particularly liked any of these except for the first two Venom movies, and I don't remember the third one at all. I know I saw it, and I recall nothing. But we did talk last week when deciding on this about the different names for the universe.
Yes.
So in 2017, they had Sony's Marvel Universe. 2018 to 20 was Sony's Universe of Marvel Characters, or SUMC. Sam, your favorite was 2020 to 2021. Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters.
Spunk. Yep.
Yeah. And then August 2021, there you can go read the Motion Picture Association press release. They renamed it to Sony's Spider-Man Universe, or SSU.
Yeah. Which sounds like it should be like a Law and Order spin-off, doesn't it?
Yeah, Law and Order SSU, the secret Spider-Man unit.
Yeah. I mean, we've got to come down to it. The whole reason, apart from these being generally badly made movies that they just weren't good conceptually at any point, the main reason none of these work and no one really cared about them was you're doing a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man. And all of these characters are, apart from maybe Venom in some situations, but generally speaking, Spidey's antagonists and villains are only interesting in relation to him, in terms of how they reflect aspects of his personality and his kind of code and his kind of outlook on superheroing. They're normally reflective of kind of one of his character flaws, or something he can't get at, or their mentor figures. Who started out really supportive and caring, and then went bad. And then they're just taken out of that context. They're just guys and girls with kind of just boringly executed superpowers.
Well, I do think on his own, like, Venom does work, and because he has Carnage, like, there is that mirror for him that naturally exists. And I do think, in theory, you could take any character and build a story around them. I think part of the problem is they did, well, I'll get to that in a second. The main issue with Madam Web and Morbius is they aren't very interesting, and Madam Web doesn't really have powers, so she's not very useful.
Madam Web's power is hitting people with a car, basically.
Yeah. Her power is she could see that she's not able to do anything, so she could do something before she has to do something. Yeah. But there's that. There's that the characters aren't great. Kraven, I guess he's peak human. I don't know, but that's fine. He does stuff. Morbius, in theory, does stuff, and Venom is the superstar here. Has powers and is cool. Yeah. But they do nothing to cross any of them over, ultimately. It's only in trailers. So in Morbius, they had the Spider-Man graffiti with murderer on it. There's Oscorp imagery, Michael Keaton's Vulture, references to Venom. There's like these very vague references, and then there's post-credit stuff from Let There Be Carnage. And
it's hilarious that they bring Tom Hardy's Venom over to the MCU for like a gag and then send him straight back. It's just I was like, nope, we're not having you stinking up the joints.
Yeah. And then, again, I'll get into this later because we're focusing on Madam Web and Kraven, but like Madam Web's not even the main character of her own story. No. There's 3 little spider girls that are really like the main character. Yeah. So it would be like if you made the Nick Fury movie first to pitch kind of. First you made, I don't know, Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, and then Nick Fury, which brings together some other characters, but I don't know. Well, just overall, the universe as a whole, not planned well, not put together well, and only made, at best, 3 good movies. Yeah. So that is the SSU. I don't know what they're currently up to. I would assume they're trying to cook something up. They do have to maintain the rights by creating content.
Yeah, I don't think they'll go down the spin-off route again. They'll probably just keep making Spider-Man movies as long as they can, I think. As long as there's one in production every 2 to 3 years, they're fine. So that's on average about how long a gap there is between each mainline installment anyway. So I think they've learned their lesson, hopefully.
All right, Sam, are you ready to get into Madam Web?
Oh, sure. I'd love to.
Oh, great. So Madam Web was a 24, really? A 2024 release. I thought it was 2021 for some reason. Yep. But no, 2024 release. Takes place in 2003, though. So that, in 21 years, whenever they get the rights to Spider-Man fully back, I guess that was their plan. Incorporate him into the movies.
What I was trying to work out, though, what's the reason for that date? Because if you do the math, so does that mean basically it's going to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man in that universe then? Because by the time he's aged up and he's become Spider-Man, time will be about right. If it's about like the 2010s at sometime, like 2015, 2016.
Ooh. Yeah, that could be it.
I mean, I think they should have gone. They should have gone further back. Like I said, they were because it looked more. It didn't look like the MCU universe, did it? So it's like they should have gone further back and just made it like the Raimi verse or the Andrew Garfield universe.
Yeah, but I think it also allows them to make contemporary, early mid 2000s films and not worry about Spider-Man at all because he's a little kid.
Yeah, but you also don't in this version. You see Uncle Ben, a younger Uncle Ben, by Adam Scott. You never see this version of May, so it could very well be Marissa Tomei. We don't know.
Yeah, because they say, I met this woman. I really like her.
Yeah. And because he's we never see his Tom Holland Spider-Man's Uncle Ben. Again, could be could be Adam Scott. You don't know.
Well, and because he needs a woman to hang out with still for some reason, he hangs out with his adult sister, who is Spider-Man's mom. Yeah. So, this was directed by S.J. Clarkson, written by Matt Sazama, Burt Sharpless, Claire Parker, and S.J. Clarkson, with story credits too from Karam Senga. And it stars Dakota Johnson, a weirdly utilized Sydney Sweeney, Celeste O'Connor, Isabella Merced, Tahar Rahim, Adam Scott, and Emma Roberts, who is Spider-Man's mom. So, they cast Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney, who are both known for taking their clothes off in works, and one of them is playing I don't even know how, just a paramedic who gets psychic powers.
Basically,
and a teenage girl with no powers. And it's a really weird movie.
And they I know Sydney Sweeney wasn't like a megastar at this point. It's made what's happened in 2 years, but she was getting big, but she wasn't like kind of everywhere at this point.
She definitely had a persona, like a star persona and image, because Euphoria had been out for a few years by this point.
But most of we saw, we would say, "Oh, that's Sydney Sweeney." It's like, "Oh, that's the girl from Euphoria."
This is her trying to really break through into like that superhero role,
and they really did do the whole okay, we've cast one of the most beautiful women on the planet. We'll put her in some glasses and pretend she's not attractive.
And we're gonna make her a teenager, and not a Euphoria style teenager. No. We're going to put her in baggy clothes. Like, she will be not sexualized as a human at all. Not even the character, like Sydney Sweeney herself. They put her in a school uniform or overalls. Like, it's a very interesting choice. And I'm not saying that needs to happen, obviously, but it is weird for the way that she is utilized in other films. But anyway, Dakota Johnson, I do want to note that she says the finished film is substantially different from what she believed she had signed on to, and that this was kind of a zombie together production that she just got a lot of money for.
And she just ran with it in the press rounds. I mean, the press kind of interviews with Dakota Johnson are the most entertaining thing about the whole Madam Web project, really, because I think when she realised, okay, I'm in a Turkey, I'll just have fun with this. I'll just rip the shit out of it.
She doesn't seem like she's having fun with it.
Well, no, I don't know. Half the time it seems like she seems like aware of the kind of thing she's in, and she's kind of half rolling her eyes with it, and kind of I don't. She kind of plays it like Cassandra Webb. She plays like she's never met another person before, and she's just interacting with every kind of other kind of human being she encounters, like really skitishly and kind of just hard to engage and empathise with anything. I mean, just the baby shower scene is just so skin-crawlingly kind of awkward. And I'm not sure whether that's the intent or not. If it's the intent, great, it works. If it's meant to be emphasised that she just doesn't connect with people, fine, it does the job. But otherwise, it's just a really clunky, awkward scene, and I'm not sure what it adds to the film, really.
See, I feel like she just doesn't care and is just trying to say the lines.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like she's having fun. It seems like she memorized what she has to say and she just says it with a flat affectation. Like I am now. Sam, are we done talking about this movie now? That is how she delivers all of her lines. It's with very little care.
Yeah, I mean, in the press rounds, famously, they asked her how different was it from 50 Shades of Grey to get into a superhero film, and she said something along the lines, it's pretty much the same but more clothes. And another interview asked her, was she a Marvel fan? Had she seen the previous Marvel films? And she said, no, never seen a superhero film in my life. And the interviewer said, would you like to name the 3 previous Tom Holland Spider-Man films? And she goes, okay, that'll be Spider-Man, Here He Comes, Spider-Man, Oh, He's Back, and The Goblet of Spider-Man.
I found from SonyPictures.com, their Madam Web, I don't know, just the page for it. And this is how it describes the movie. It's superhero action thriller. In a switch from the typical genre, Madam Web tells the standalone origin story, that is, abnormal, of one of Marvel Publishing's most enigmatic heroines. The suspense-driven thriller stars Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, a paramedic in Manhattan who develops the power to see the future and realizes that she could use that insight to change it. Forced to confront revelations about her past, she forges a relationship with 3 young women bound for powerful destinies if they can all survive a deadly present. And, I mean, that does kind of describe what the movie is.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't think, to be fair to it, the basic premise isn't terrible. Something could be made of it. It is a bit different. It's like kind of like if it's like a high octane chase movie where your heroine can't really do the fighting, so she's got to think her way out of situations, and protecting these 3 teenagers from someone vastly more powerful, like a really kind of deadly threat, then that could work. But it's just in the execution, just some things. It's just been botched, basically.
Sam, are you a big Twilight fan?
No.
Okay, so in the second part of Breaking Dawn, there's a big climactic action scene where they all fight the werewolves and tear heads off.
And it's just a possible future, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it turns out that the vampire who can show people the future, Alice, has shown the bad guy the future if he decides on his current course of action. Yeah. And so, in order to save himself from death, he needs to leave the Cullens alone. None of that is in the book. This film is basically trying to make scenes that don't happen the action of the movie. And that's necessary because, Madam Web can't do anything, like I said. Her power is seeing the future so she could do something different in the present that doesn't involve her doing anything
power is seeing
cool.
the future so she can run the person over who's chasing them, basically. And just that 3 times.
Yeah, she has a real lack of agency overall, and they don't do anything interesting with that. I think it is it could be a cool idea to have a main character who lacks agency ultimately, but they don't do anything interesting with it. It's just, I see the future and I do something slightly different that makes that not happen.
And the other problem is, Madam Web, she's never been a main character in Spider-Man. She's very much kind of a weird kind of...
She seems like a weird side character.
Side character who just turns up every now and then to tell Spider-Man his future or what he needs to prepare for, basically. She's very much peripheral, constantly watching everything and seeing what's going to happen, but not really. You can't really build a full story around it. She's more interesting as someone who will just come in for a couple of scenes, do her thing and then go away again. I mean, Kraven, at least, I think he has had a kind of comic miniseries based around him, and you can kind of see how he could drive the plot and do things in it. But I mean, the weirder elements in this again kind of they're at least interesting. Like the whole Amazon kind of Peruvian kind of Amazon kind of plotline with the Spider Men, that tribe, that La Saranga, who wear red body paints and kind of weird vines on them, made them look like they're wearing spider suits.
Which doesn't make sense.
No, but okay, I think, well, at least that's different. That's a new element to mythology that might have been interesting.
Well, there's so in Peru, it turns out Madame Web's mom was there trying to save herself and the baby from death. And like that's ultimately why she was there, but it seems like she was just there studying spiders to harvest their stuff for like medical technology, which is that what the bad guy does? We'll get to the bad guy. But so there's a point where Madame Web has met these teenage girls and she saves them from the bad guy. She leaves them out in the woods to go read a book. And then she leaves them for a week to go to Peru. She spends more time in Peru and traveling to and from there than she spends with the main character girls.
Well, she leaves them in the woods first off in the film, for like a night, and they nearly die. And what she learned from that, I've got to leave you for even longer now, too.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, it's like you're an adult woman, they call her out on this, kidnapping teenagers. Basically holding them hostage.
And like, so what she sees, her first vision, she's a paramedic, she almost dies, whatever. Now she can see the future. And she sees her boss dying. Yeah. And so she keeps trying to change it, be like, oh no, let me drive with you, blah, blah, blah. And then he dies. Yeah. And it like, that's a weird thing because it feels like it sends the message, you can't change the future. Yeah. As the first, but I think what she gets from it is lack of intervention causes what you see to happen. And they don't really do anything interesting to contend with, like, what is the past, what is the future, what is the present,
and then they just hand wave it all by the sort of got an action finale where they basically give her time travel powers. Because what she's doing in the finale isn't seeing the future. She's literally splitting off and doing things simultaneously. That's nothing to see in the future. That's like, time and space manipulation.
They say whenever she's in Peru,
if you can embrace your full potential. I can't remember some bollocks.
He says if you get great responsibility, you will also get great power.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Or maybe he says some bastardized version of that Uncle Ben quote for no reason. Yeah. And then he is like, he just tells her, when you see the future, you could be in multiple places at once, and ultimately, like, she does end up in a wheelchair and blind at the end because of the Pepsi sign or whatever. Yeah. And she's saved by CPR. Yeah. But it would have been interesting if, like, she had a little bit of actual spider power and just she becomes paralyzed and she can't really use it, like, the same way or something like that. But
I mean, the comics version, she's an old paralyzed lady in like this big kind of web chair, basically connected to the universe and seeing kind of all kind of aspects of past, present, and future. But they wanted to cast a young, so hot right now actress in the lead role, so they've just said, oh, we'll just do our own thing, we'll make her a completely different character and then just give her kind of limited precognition. That'll do.
Yeah, and also I get, like, fine, you want to do the Madame Web origin story, whatever. Yeah. Like, it's mandatory in the industry by that point. So I get that. But it should also be a story about the three girls, too. Yeah. Like, the first part of the movie, along with all her boring, stupid stuff that I don't care about, it should be intercut, a scene where they're in high school at lunch, and one's the cool girl, and she bumps into Sydney Sweeney, who spills her stuff all over. They go, haha, nerd. Yeah. And then the quiet girl's in the corner, like, pushing her hair behind her ear. Yeah. And then they all end up in detention together somehow. Yeah. And then, just even give us that. Yeah. And they don't. Like, we meet these girls through the bad guy's visions, which why does the bad guy have visions? I don't know. But he knows that these 3 teenage girls are going to kill him in the future. And so he sleeps with an NSA lady so that he could get access to NSA technology so he could find the faces from his dreams. But
again, how, because she can't see his dreams, so how is she looking for these faces on kind of CCTV? Is he just real good? Is he just real good at describing them, or are they just cycling through like thousands of faces and goes, that one? Kind of.
I think what happened is he went to someone who then like drew them. Or use technology to like create them and then de-age them, which is how they go. They would be teenagers now. And so, he needs to use End of the Dark Knight technology to locate 3 teenage girls who all live in New York, so that he can kill them before they could kill him. But like, they don't have power at all in the movie. They only wear the suits and visions. It doesn't make any sense why they're in this movie if they're not going to be really characters in their own right, getting an origin and powers and stuff in this film.
And people got really excited when the trailer for this came out because they splashed over the kind of the scenes of the 3 Spider Women in the visions. It made a big part of the marketing campaign. I thought, it'll be so cool. I can't wait to see what else they do. That's literally all you get from the Spider Women. You just get them kind of, they get like chopped up segments of one action scene each, basically, and because there's nowhere, because you can't have them getting their powers in this film because they can't become Spider people before Spider-Man's around. They've got to wait their turn. Is essentially it.
But in my opinion, that would solve all of their problems. We don't have Spider-Man, but we have all these side characters that we could give spider powers to. What's weird about this universe is one day in the future, somebody's going to be like, hey, you remember 20 years ago when there was like an evil Spider-Man running around and we didn't call him anything, but he had a black suit and he destroyed a diner where these girls were dancing to the new hot song Toxic by Britney Spears. And yes, I do remember that. It's weird now that there's a good guy named Spider-Man who looks exactly like him and we all trust him and he's the friendly neighborhood guy. That's just the weird universe that this film has created. And they should just stick with like, okay, look, Spider-Man ultimately is a Marvel thing. So we're going to have Spider Ladies, we're going to have Madam Web, we're going to have Morbius, and just go ahead with the Sinister Six thing and have them fight Madam Web and the Spider Girls or something. Yeah,
I mean, there were so many kind of roads they could have taken with this, but they just didn't commit to any of them and just ended up with just reheated leftovers.
It's like they lack the confidence to just go through with something. And I would take something over whatever this mess is because it doesn't create anything fun or interesting or enticing. And it's not even the baseline level of creative.
No, I mean, I say definitely, obviously we'll come to it, but I say Kraven is by far and away a better made movie than this, even though it's got its, a heap of problems itself. It's better than this, but for some reason, if say, right, which of these would you like to rewatch again right now? I'd say Madam Web all the way, because there's just something about it. Just when every decision made is the wrong one, it's bad, but it's bad in some quite interesting kind of ways. You can kind of see there where they kind of just took the wrong road or just made the wrong decision, or where it's been butched in the edit. And I kind of think it works as like so bad it's good kind of film. It's the kind of thing where you could put it on have a few beers with your friends and just laugh at it. It's got that element to it.
And another mistake I think they make is that the villain is, I don't care about who he is in the comics. He's not an interesting looking villain. So again, Kraven takes somebody we know and puts them in the movie. Yeah. It's a familiar villain. Well, they could have put somebody in a cool suit, or it could have been Morbius or Venom or something.
I believe Ezekiel in the comics, he doesn't wear like a black Spider-Man suit. It looks more like the classic version of like Mr. Hyde. Basically, is like a man beast kind of thing, and he's still like taking like some kind of a formula that's changed him, but he's sort of like a beast man basically.
Yeah, I don't know if like I can't remember. I guess they used Lizard already in the Andrew Garfield one, but the Lizard or just somebody who. What about from the video game, the black and white Chinese guy? Just somebody that we're familiar with.
Yeah, and I think I've got to talk about at some point. Poor Tahar Rahim. I mean, he's a good actor. If you see the film. The French prison film, The Prophet. He's fantastic in that. He's done so many like real good kind of indie dramas and kind of gangster films and crime films and everything like that. He's a compelling presence, but he's just completely wasted in this. And whether once upon a time there was more interesting stuff with his character that just got left on the cutting room floor, and then they kind of went back over and had to go on to redo all his dialogue, so it sounds like he's recording like from like a cupboard in a different room. Because you must have noticed the terrible, like, catastrophically bad ADR in this. I mean, just how freaky.
Sam, it's so bad that I was half watching this and I noticed it.
Yeah, because half the time it's like they're very conscious like cussing around and like using like alternate takes or scenes where like, he's got his back to the camera and stuff. But then when he's there, it's like he's always speaking at a certain tone, and we know what his voice sounds like from other films, and it's clearly still his voice, but it just sounds off. It just sounds, it goes on a different day and different quality kind of sound equipment and just too low in the mix, and it's just really, really jarring.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, the twist of, like, my mom was trying to save me. Yes. I thought she didn't care about me. Why would you think that? She died in childbirth, dude. Like, I don't know. They did a really poor job of writing anything cohesive and meaningful and, like, evocative. Yeah. And you could do just the barest baseline tropes can do that. And they failed in every capacity. Yeah. So,
have you seen the conspiracy theory about Dakota Johnson and the Pepsi can?
Oh, no. You know what? Again, half watching, I forgot that there's a giant Pepsi fight at the end.
Yes, it's a giant Pepsi fight, but no, it's more. So twice in the film she gets a can, so a can of Pepsi. So once out of a vending machine at the hospital, and then again at the baby shower, someone gives her one. And both those scenes, while she's holding the Pepsi can, the longest scenes are probably 5 minutes each. She's playing with the can, but never quite kind of pulling like the ring pull. She's kind of, she works way up to it. She's edging the can basically. She just keeps going for it, and it doesn't quite pull. And then people just say, "Does Coach Johnson know how cans work? Has she never opened one before? Is she just confused by it?" And it's like a meme. It's just all these kind of shots of kind of her just looking confused at this can and just holding it different ways and just trying to puzzle it out. But again, it's probably just a weird acting choice on her part, or maybe some sort of continuity. I don't know. But it's just once you notice it, just how she's playing with it, but not actually opening it, you can never not see it again. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah. And I think something else to touch on. Obviously Madam Webb in the comics, you mentioned she's, a character with a disability, and it is a bummer to not have a character who is disabled be disabled in like their major big screen debut. I'm not saying you need to cast an actor like that, but when it comes to like representation of people in films, it would be more interesting to put her in these situations with her disability.
If the Wicked movies could do it, there's no reason why Madam Webb couldn't. It's like Wicked had decades of able-bodied people playing the Wicked Witch of the East in a wheelchair. Just they could do the scene where she's magicked onto her feet, but in the film they cast her, and actually used a wheelchair, and then just did the scene where she's meant to get her movement back a bit differently. She floats instead rather than walking by magic. There are ways around it, ways to handle it more sensitively, definitely.
Yeah. If you have to have a big name, fine, whatever. A character in a wheelchair is more interesting to me than an able-bodied person who is just kind of running around doing nothing. So you're being less creative somehow. Yeah, I don't know. I'm done with this movie. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, like I say, I can't say I didn't have a good time with it when I saw this in cinemas, but it was for all the wrong reasons. It was all unintentionally hilarious stuff, But yeah, it was bad for it from the outset. They need to go back to the drawing board of this one, really.
Yeah. All right. Well, the same year they released 2 more movies. Let's talk about one of them.
Yeah. So they released Venom: The Last Dance first, which, as I've said, for me was probably about the best of these films. Really, it's still not good, but better than the others. But yeah, they went out with a bit of a, not with a bang, with a bit of a splat, really, with Kraven. Kraven the Hunter film was teased for years and years. Basically, they wanted to get it off the ground for a long time because he's one of the more interesting. He's one of the few Spider-Man villains who, next to Venom, who you could conceivably build a film around on his own. There's enough to him, and he has been like an anti-hero as well as like an outright villain in the comics as well, and he's had like solo series and things. Sam Raimi originally wanted to use him in Spider-Man 4. Originally, his plan for Spider-Man 4 before he walked away was to use Vulture and Venom. Sorry, use Venom in 3. So Vulture and Kraven. But yeah, so when he walked away with that, they ended up recycling both villains for future projects. And then, for a long time, they were trying to get either a solo film off the ground or a film with him off the ground. For a long time, John Watts' first Spider-Man, No Way Home. Basically, he wanted to do what they ended up doing. He wanted to do a big multiverse thing with multiple Spider-Men. He said, but if for whatever reason those deals don't work out and the actor doesn't want to come back, my backup plan is to have Spider-Man versus Venom. So I keep saying Venom. Spider-Man versus Kraven.
Yeah.
He was going to be based on a famous comic storyline called Kraven's Last Hunt, which is basically the most dangerous game. So it's Kraven hunting Spider-Man across New York, which is a really cool idea for kind of an action movie, I think. But that didn't happen, so I thought, all right, well, we'll just do it as a solo movie, turn from an outright horrible villain that hunts animals into a principled, moral conservationist and animal lover who hunts bad guys instead. So, yeah. Which,
And, if you're going to make him a, quote-unquote good guy, anti-hero, I mean, that's an obvious
Exactly,
way
yeah. I think the first half of this is a solid kind of vigilante movie, basically. Kind of, it works on those terms. It's nothing spectacular, but it's fine. Does the job.
It's better conceived than Madam Web.
Yeah. So, kind of broad strokes of the story is... I'm going to go back to my 2024 superhero movies ranked list for this because just going to sum it up. So after a mystical botanical concoction heals him from near death by a lion and gives him animalistic superpowers, Sergei Kravinoff, Ariana Johnson, the eldest son of an infamous Russian gangster and big game hunter, grows to become a hunter himself. But instead of hunting animals, he hunts morally reprehensible criminals across the globe. So that's basically it.
Yeah. And his dad is Russian.
Yeah. Opening scene is him breaking out of this Russian gulag and killing a lot of guards and running like a lion across the snow and up walls and things. Which I get why I did it, because they're trying to get across that he's like an animal. They do the flashing yellow eyes thing and these... kind of references his enhanced senses, but a guy moving like on all fours like that can never not look goofy. I don't think it's, but it's that kind of film. It's silly. You kind of go with it. So, kind of positives of this. Yeah, like I said, I think the first half works fine. I guess. I think some of the performances are okay. I think a lot of this rides on Ariana Johnson being quite a charismatic performer. I think generally he does an okay job. He's not
that charismatic though.
He's going to say a lot of stupid lines, but generally he can say a lot of stupid stuff with a straight face, and he just does a few kind of wry kind of put downs and things, and he's just generally gruff and kind of does a bit of a wisecrack before killing someone horribly. That kind of. I think he kind of works as a lead.
I think he's a fine, it's a fine performance, but when I think about, I'm trying to sell this universe, Tony Stark, casting Robert Downey Jr. for him, that's really what works in the first movie. It's not like people super love Iron Man. They love the actor and the performance and the Avengers potential.
Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is playing himself.
And we get Aaron Taylor Johnson to play the lead. Man, just talk about between Tom Hardy, Dakota Johnson, and Aaron Taylor Johnson. But, let's get the least, really over the top personalities we can.
But Tom Hardy and Dakota Johnson are only interesting because they make some really weird choices with their kind of performances. I think it just plays it straight basically in this, which okay.
He does. That's
I think
true.
Russell Crowe, big fan of accents. I think he kind of he does the job he's signed up for, basically, playing classic Russian gangster. And abusive father figure. And if playing Russian, you just miss out odd words. you just miss out definite article.
Yes.
And then you have. Oh God, what's he called? Guy who plays his younger brother.
I don't know, but his name is Dimitri. That's the character.
Yeah, Dimitri. Anyway, guy who played one of the Mad Brothers in Gladiator 2. He's kind of he's all right. Does the job he signed up for. I think what I quite like, and I know you can't say they're good, but I enjoy them. They're entertaining. The other villains in this kind of they're just fun because they're just over the top and silly, and I like them. So you have Alejandro Nivola, again, a great kind of actor in dark indie movies, basically, just coming in and playing the Rhino. It's like another Russian mobster. But this version of the Rhino, classically in the comics, he's just a guy in like a mechanical suit normally, or just body armor. But now this, he's literally he's been genetically spliced with something, presumably a rhino, and he's basically turning into one very painfully whenever he's not been pumped full of drugs from his little backpack.
Yeah.
And you messaged me saying the scene where they say, "Why do they call you the Rhino? Do you want to see why they call me the Rhino?" He said, "Yes, because you're in a comic book movie. Is it because you turned into a rhino?"
Yeah. In this world, I don't know when this takes place. I'd assume closer to the present than Madam Web. We know that there's Spider-Men and stuff like that running around. I'm assuming you're the Rhino because you're a Rhino man.
Yeah. But also you have Christopher Abbott, again, who's one of my favourite actors in interesting indie movies. God, it's amazing how they all end up in these superhero movies sooner or later. But playing the Foreigner, that's always referred to as, and in the comics, I think the Foreigner's just a generic assassin mercenary. Who's a bit like the Punisher, but without a cool T-shirt. But in this film, they kind of give an interesting kind of superpower. Basically, he hypnotizes people and freezes time or freezes their perception of time.
I didn't understand why he's in this movie.
Yeah. So he basically takes his sunglasses off, and as soon as he locks eyes with you, he starts counting up to goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and as he's doing that, he's zipping around the room basically and stabbing them or disappearing, as needed. Which makes no sense. I'm not really sure why he needs to be in this, but they just need another obstacle for Kraven to have a fight with towards the end. But I quite like the concept of the character. That's kind of a bit interesting. I've not really seen quite done that way before. But okay, fine. And then the action, probably the best action from the first half is the scene of them running across London and jumping on buses and things like that. That's okay. That's all right. That works. But then after that, kind of when they're going into kind of what happened to him when he took the magic botanical solution and Calypso, played by thingy from Spielberg's West Side Story.
Yeah, but big week for people named Calypso.
Yeah, Ariana DeBose again, who another person who's a victim to a horrible bit of it was like ADR, what they do. Again, if you're half watching, you might not have noticed, but I just I knew there was something about this that added a line or changed the line. It's really noticeable, but I hadn't picked up on the first time watching it, so I looked out for it this time. And it's a scene where they're in Kraven's house, in the jungle, with all his weapons and everything. And she's kind of telling him about kind of who he needs to grow up, who he needs to be, or he's this kind of man, not this kind of man, and whatever she says, I've already forgotten. Basically, it's like when she kind of says, you need to grow into who you were born to be, or something along those lines. And basically, they do this awful CG mouth on her, basically, because she obviously hadn't said that line on set. They do like the CG mouth. It's not even at the same angle as her head, so it looks like she's just talking out the side of her mouth all of a sudden. This line.
That's amazing.
Just search for it, and it's horrific. I mean, do you remember the whole thing with Henry Cavill where they got rid of his moustache in CG in Justice League? It's that level. It's awful. And she's completely wasting this Ariana DeBose. I mean, she's just so she's in Africa when they go on the safari in the opening scene, and her grandmother is teaching her about tarot cards and saying, after there's a lot of power in for our family and you need to learn how to use it and blah, blah, blah. And she becomes like an environmentalist lawyer, essentially, and he meets up with her in London, and she's kind of got information with like all these kind of shady characters.
So, small note there, but she says, or he says to her maybe, you're one of the top lawyers in Europe.
Yeah.
And the UK, not part of Europe, famously. We know that.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's when this was set. This must have been set in early 2016.
I didn't think about that. You're right. This is all genius.
Yeah. But yeah, she's completely wasted. In the comics, her character actually gets like proper like magic powers, which I wish they could have done. At least given her something to do, But she just gets to. She drops one line where she finds Kraven's bow in his like pile of weapons and said, "Oh yeah, I was on the archery team in school," and they just do that so they set up so she can shoot a foreigner in the eye later on, just before he kills Kraven. So yeah,
and you know what? It just overall in terms of structure and things like that, like this film is instantly so much better than Madam Web.
Yeah, and the first half is just so much more fun because that's just Kraven jetting off around the world, killing bad guys horribly with improvised weapons, and it's the first like superhero movie that's not Deadpool or Blade, to have a good level of gore in this. It's like the bad guys just die horribly, but really entertainingly.
I remember that being in the marketing about like how much gore and violence there is in this movie.
Yeah, but yeah, it kind of ends up he's going to stop he's going to stop Rhino from kind of doing bad gangster stuff basically. And hunting him down. I mean, because he's basically got a price on his head, and he's been looking for him for a while. Twist later in the game is Russell Crowe's dad actually gave him up, told him how to find him because he knew he couldn't beat Rhino by himself. So I thought, get my half-lion son to do it instead.
Which is the big twist in this movie.
Yeah.
And, I mean, not even really a twist.
Yeah, and basically they end up back in. They're in Russia, aren't they? And with some conveniently stampeding bison, or buffalo, which I presume you get in Russia, but I don't know. Because for a while I thought, I have to go back to Africa, but then no, they're at his house a minute ago, and he said that was in Russia, and then he killed some guys on his land, so they must still be there.
One weird thing about this movie for me was I knew that the Russell Crowe stuff with the little kids was taking place in the past, but like it took me a minute to fully understand that.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed the, in the past, however many years ago, but it's weird for me that there's a time jump in this movie.
Yeah, because they don't date the past stuff, do they? But then when we get to the present stuff, it's 16 years later, I think. So, which probably brings up to Ariana Johnson's actual age, I would imagine. But basically, this film kind of, I think the second half in particular was heavily reworked. I think you can see like the coming apart the seams and stuff that's been clumsily edited and stuff animated in the game, and they just seem to lose interest in like the main driving force of the first half of the film, which is like this kind of vigilante revenge kind of film, and then right, we're going to have him come up with a reason to fight the main villain. I'll just say he's after him and he won't leave him alone, and kill the people he cares about, which seems to just be his younger brother, basically. He's not like Spider-Man. He's got lots of friends and family he cares about. Kraven's pretty much a lone wolf, who occasionally come back to see his younger brother every birthday.
They say that part, he's going to go after the people you care about, this guy. And I was like, who does Kraven have that he cares about? And it's literally just his little brother.
Yeah,
that's it.
Brother. And maybe this lawyer who we met 2 days ago. I do like that they don't force like a romance between them, because I was expecting that to come out for out of nowhere any minute. I'm like, okay, they just left it there. That's fine. The finale, which is kind of very effects heavy, not very good effects heavy either. It's kind of stampedes and Kraven chasing the bad guys in their jeeps, and then the jeeps get totaled, and then the Rhino kind of goes full Rhino. And he has a fight with Kraven, and then Kraven thinks, "I know, I'll stab your little port in your side where you're putting your drugs," which seems to sap him over, or he becomes vulnerable all of a sudden for some reason from that. And then he kind of puts a tow cable around his neck, and he gets dragged into the stampede. And after being run over, this invulnerable guy, after being run over by like 100 buffalo, is dead now. So okay, that's it then.
Yeah. And also, Sam, do you think that the father works like dramatically? Because I felt like it really wanted to have a like at least John Wick level like relationship with the father and son. I think
Russell Crowe works when he's on screen, but they don't give it enough time, really. I mean, it's not a short film either. It's just over 2 hours, but
it's very long.
I think you could cut out half the action or make it more brief, and then just put in a few more character scenes that would kind of work wonders, really. Because the whole thing that his dad wanting him to take over the family business, his younger brother not seemingly not been interested in him still being seen as weak and in need of protection, all that. And we know a kind of final twist at the end after he's killed his dad, or he's come back to take his dad's shotgun shells out of his gun so he can be killed by a bear. Oh, the irony. Turns out he goes back and his brother's taken over his dad's syndicate, and he's embraced his destiny as the chameleon, another fairly obscure Spider-Man character.
I forgot about the chameleon. The little brother. Yeah, he says the line like, "I've always been kind of a chameleon."
And how they do that in the first half? Well, basically, his power is he can uncannily mimic people's voices. Basically, that's his talent. But then by the end, he's gone and got some weird surgery so he can literally shape-shift into people.
But like it's hilarious that they unironically are like, it's Morbin time, and say that again, Fantastic Four. They use that as a line, but pretty much what the brother's been the whole time is this ineffectual, unable to do anything son. He's a dandy. The father's like moments away from calling him like, "You're my gay son," or whatever. Like, "You play the piano, you can't protect me from anything," and like, I just don't care. And there's too much of the movie wrapped up. We talked about with Spider-Man, him relating to the villains, and like, it's an origin story. There does need to be connection between the hero and the villain. But I just don't care about the way it's presented.
I did see one review saying, "God, it's a long 2 hours to find out how Kraven got like his lion fur kind of vest."
Basically, yeah. That's what it feels like it's the story of.
Your father left you something. Oh, Thank you. A coat made from that lion that nearly killed me as a kid. How thoughtful of you.
Here's how you became Triple X Xander Cage.
Yeah. So this was a victim of the of the strikes, basically. I mean, I think originally it was going to go in production during COVID, then they pushed it back for a couple of years. Then when it finally went to production, they had to pause it halfway through because of the actors' strikes.
And then,
wait,
actors are writing?
Well, didn't the SAG strike and then the writer strike, didn't they come like shortly one after the other? I think it was affected by both.
That's right.
So, but it's basically, it was originally going to be when they went to production. Originally, they're aiming for a January 2023 release, and ends up coming out in December 2024. So, kind of more than a full year later. And the end result of that was that its opening weekend, Venom grossed more money in its opening weekend than this film did in its entire theatrical run. They estimate that Deadline estimated that Sony lost at least 71 million on this movie. I mean, Madam Web at least had a life after it didn't do well in the cinemas, but it did okay on streaming. A lot of people paid to see it after it left cinemas. No one saw this even afterwards. I mean, it's by far and away the least successful Sony kind of Spider-Man spin-off film.
It's just ultimately like it's middle of the road for what a superhero origin movie is in the first place.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, there's nothing about it that makes me go, I want to watch this.
No. And it's a good. I mean, the previous one. I'm not putting down S.J. Clarkson, but she was known primarily for TV before Madam Web. So kind of maybe see, okay, maybe that's more your vibe. Maybe you can work better in that. Your style works better in that medium than on big screen, possibly. But this is directed by J.C. Chandor. He's a really good director. He's did like The Most Violent Year and a few other films like that. It's. He's good at kind of character dramas and like gangster films and crime films. He's done a few good films, and to come out with this and apparently he sought this out. He went to Sony and says, I mean, I think they asked him what would you like to direct, and he said, I like Kraven. Let me do a Kraven film. And they said, yeah, go for it. And to just produce something that's kind of not inept, but just really indistinct and generic. It's a bit depressing, really. Apparently,
by the way,
he wanted to do the Channing Tatum Gambit film that never got off the ground over at Fox. He was attached to that for a while, but he ended up coming over and doing this instead. Again, another film they should never have done because Gambit makes much more sense in the context in teams up with the X-Men. As part of that, the dynamic between those characters is much more interesting than that guy doing his own thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. The picture on Kraven's Wikipedia article, when you open that, it's him standing over Venom, like as if he just shot him or something.
Yeah.
And it is a shame that we didn't get a crossover with like Kraven and Venom. Well, because I think Kraven is a decent enough character.
If you want a really good crossover of those two characters, play Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation. Because that's probably the best version of Kraven, outside of animation. I think it's a good. And they don't overcomplicate him. Basically, he is like a big game hunter and just a bad guy with no real kind of nuance. Really, just bad for the sake of being kind of bad.
He does also, he runs a big hunting organization with minions.
Yeah.
And I do think that there is something to him that's I can take down the bad guys too. He seems as much a contract guy as he is a bad guy.
Yeah.
There's some kind of legal evil, lawful evil or whatever to him.
Yeah.
But it just, him and Venom together in some kind of movie, I think would be the best way for them to go. But I wish they'd just gotten a better actor, somebody, and I can't even think of a person. I'm trying to, and there's nobody springing to mind, but just somebody that would get me excited to watch a Venom movie.
I mean,
or a Kraven.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, credit to Ariana Johnson. You put the work in and you got those abs. but yeah, it's yeah. There were other actors in contention for this. I can't remember who they were off the top of my head now.
I think with him, like, he feels like Chris Evans' Captain America. He's just kind of a bland, decent guy. And I feel like a character like Kraven needs to have just a little more edge to their star persona, really.
Okay, that would be interesting. They originally, Ryan Coogler wanted to use Kraven in Black Panther, which would have been, I could see him slotting into that world again. I mean,
that would be cool.
Maybe it would have been in place of the Andy Serkis character, the South African smuggler guy. Maybe it would have been the same place as that, but that might have been interesting. Where was it? Antoine Fuqua was originally again approached to direct.
That's pretty funny. I wonder why were they going for like gangster directors? What's the deal with that?
Oh, here we go. Sony had previously approached Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves, John David Washington, and Adam Driver for the role. So, yeah,
I like John David Washington.
Yeah.
Who was the first one again?
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. I mean, he's kind of old. I don't know.
Yeah, but you think about the Kraven in the Spider-Man game. He is older, isn't he? So yeah, again, this is like Kraven Origins. just stop doing. You know what? Some of these spin-offs may have worked better if they were just dropped in when they're fully established as characters doing their thing. Why do they have to be spin-offs and origin movies at the same time? That's what
I agree
fundamentally
with that.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, because on the one hand, we did have the DC movies where people are like, it's dumb to just throw us into like a character without origin stories, because of Marvel, that's a major thing. But we get Batman without a Batman movie. But I think here, these characters would work better just being thrown into the midst of superhero and villain and whatever. So that there's exciting action to like really draw us in.
You think about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, when he got into the MCU, with Captain America Civil War. They knew everyone knows how Spider-Man got his powers. They knew they needed to go through that again and show him basically he just starts out, he's already Spider-Man, he's been Spider-Man for a while, and then he goes to hang out with the Avengers. That kind of works, I think give the audience a bit of credit. These characters are well known enough. We never need to see Batman's parents dying. We never see those pearls scattered on the ground. We've seen that enough.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think for these characters, it's more just you could do the Supergirl thing where Kraven's talking to someone. He's like, yeah, when I was young, I was attacked by a lion. Yeah. But blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Like they could just go over the very bare bones and have him do something more interesting than his full kind of origin bit. But, in a sense, they're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But at the same time, like you just need to give us the best possible movie with your C-tier cinematic universe.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a lot better made than Madam Web, but it's almost more annoying because it's more competent. That it still doesn't work at the end. When it comes down to it. I had this debate with myself a few times over the years. 2016, terrible year for like DC. You had Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman. And though objectively, Batman vs Superman is a better film, better made, better, it turned out better. Suicide Squad is just an absolute mess. Batman vs Superman is almost more offensive because it costs $250 million and ends up just boring.
Yeah. And it takes look, I don't like Zack Snyder, the head of DC, the writer, blah, blah, blah. But the guy is a good filmmaker. Yeah. And robbing us of Zack Snyder making a good movie, I would say, is also an issue. Because I don't mind anything he does visually in those movies, but I don't know. I will say I'd rather watch Batman versus Superman than these. For all of its flaws, for all of my issues with it.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
Yeah, I'm probably never going to watch the Venom films again unless it's, I don't know, on TV in a hotel room. I've just got nothing else to do. But I may watch Madam Web again in a few years when I'm drunk. But yeah, the others are just no point to them. I did see friends showed me this video I've seen before, but it was going around again because with the Spider-Man doing so well, people got talking about the spin-offs that didn't work. And on the Morbius kind of press round, Matt Smith, who basically shows absolute disdain for how the film came out, basically didn't hide it at all. And an interviewer kind of said to him, apparently Keanu Reeves was spotted on a plane the other day watching Morbius as his in-flight movie. And Matt Smith just puts his hands in his hands and, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then the interviewer just asked him, so what was you watching as your in-flight movie? Matt Smith just finds, well, not Morbius, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. The only reason we didn't talk about Morbius is because of the Jared Leto stuff recently.
We don't need to acknowledge his existence and that he was a dick again.
Hopefully he's finally done for at this point. It's just ridiculous how many movies he continues to front for no reason. Yeah. Look, I've said it before about other movies, like older ones he's in. He's a good actor. Just knowing what we know about him, I don't need to watch him. There's other good actors in the world. Yeah. Brad Pitt, I've been more forgiving of than I'd like to be, but he's a good actor who puts on entertaining performances in a way that Leto never does, even though he is good. And Morbius is just terrible. There's not much to say about it. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on the Sony Spider-Man universe?
Not really. Bad idea from the outset. Turned out even worse. Good riddance, basically.
Yeah. I don't hate the Venom movies. I like Michelle Williams. I like Tom Hardy. I want Tom Hardy to be in good movies again. It feels like it's been since Dunkirk, that he's been in something good and meaningful. So
it's been a while.
Maybe one day. But that's it for us talking about these. We'll be back next week with Kieran and something else. Until then, Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where I've nearly finished my Spider-Man Brand New Day review. It'll be up next couple of days, I would imagine. If you want to look back in the archives, would have been January 2025. I published all the superhero movies from 2024 as a ranked list. They're mostly all terrible, so that was a fun one to write, including Madam Web and Kraven and that. And back in the day, I believe I also reviewed Madam Web and Morbius for the film magazine, so those reviews will be up there if you should choose to go find them.
Yep. You can find Kieran at KJudgmental, although he doesn't want to be found. And you can find me at Jacob Film Guy, and go read our stuff, of course, at the Film Magazine. All that stuff's up through 2030 for sure. And you can also email us at secondcutpod@gmail.com and find us everywhere at Second Cut. That's it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.